Hey guys, welcome to my 31-week bump date. Baby is the size of a coconut right now, or about 3.2 pounds and 16 inches long. Baby is now also able to move his head from side to side. The brain is continuing to develop, and it's actually getting little grooves and wrinkles to hold more brain tissue. Let's see. Oh, the lanugo is starting to shed because baby now has a layer of fat to help keep him warm. The head and body are now in proportion to a newborn. So basically, everything is right on target, just mostly gaining fat from this point on. His eyesight is continuing to develop. One thing that I found was interesting was that when he's born, his eyesight will actually be 2400. So that's, I didn't realize newborns had such a hard time seeing. So that was interesting to me. Because, you know, adults or normal eyesight is 20/20, and 2400 is really bad. But it does continue to develop and get better as they age. As far as my size goes, I'm now at 170, so I've hit my 35-pound mark. I don't think I'm going to get away with not gaining more than I'm supposed to. So, but that's okay. As far as my belly goes, it's 42 inches, and my breasts are at 42.5 inches. So they're staying pretty close, but the belly is definitely catching up to the breast. As far as my development and my symptoms go, the uterus at this point is about 4 inches above the belly button. Getting up a lot more often to pee. It feels like it's just constant at this point. And I wake up normally about 2 times a night, sometimes more, sometimes less, but I would say 2 times is pretty normal for me now, just having to pee. So that's been not fun, but I'm able to get back to sleep really fast, so it's not that big of a deal. Heartburn is starting to pick up a little bit, actually. I've really avoided it through the majority of this pregnancy, but it's now starting to pick up, and it's just very mild. It's all I have to do is chew up 2 Tums and it's gone for the rest of the night, and it doesn't hit me until nighttime, really, when I'm laying down. So I know it could be a lot worse. Been having some shortness of breath. The other day he must have been up really high because I felt like it's hard to describe it, but I guess when you have like a cold and it's really hard to breathe, how sometimes you feel like you're suffocating and then you have to take just deep breaths to feel better. That's kind of how I was feeling, but I could not even take deep breaths to feel better. So it only lasted for a few hours, but it was just like this constant feeling like I'm on the edge of suffocating. And that's normal though. It's basically just from everything expanding and pressing up against the lungs so that I can't get full deep breaths. Let's see. Some of his movements have actually been starting to hurt at this point. Nothing too bad, but there have been some movements where I'm like, ooh, buddy, that kind of hurts. So he's definitely getting stronger every day. nesting. I don't know if it's over for me or if my body is just taking a break because it's recuperating. But actually, the day before I got sick, I got crazy with nesting, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get this stuff done. So I was like cleaning like crazy, and even a little bit past bedtime I was still cleaning, and I was just I don't know, it was crazy. And then the next day was when I started getting sick. So after that, it's kind of died down some. Since I've been back home and feeling a little bit better, it is picking up some. So it might get back to being just crazy once I'm back at 100%, but we will see. Things that I've been doing. I've got the pediatrician picked out and booked. So, yay, I'm so excited that he now has a pediatrician. I feel like a lot of the major things are now done. I've been feeling a little bit stressed about not having a lot of stuff done. Really, next on my list is just trying to learn as much as I can about birth and labor and just get prepared. So, other than that, though, I think the major stuff is done. We do still need to work on the nursery, but that is not as huge of a deal to me because really he's not going to use his nursery for a while. We plan to have him in the rock and play next to the bed for probably the first 3 months of life before we transition to the nursery. So we've still got quite a while to do the nursery. So now I just wanted to give you an update on what happened last week, give you a little bit more details as far as what I have, because I still don't have all the details, but just to update you guys. So what happened was I went in for my 30-week appointment on Tuesday, last Tuesday, and they gave me the Tdap vaccine. And I had read that they can make you just feel just not good, basically. And I noticed Tuesday night that I just felt really bad. I felt wiped out, and I felt like I was getting kind of feverish. So I ended up just going to bed early that day and just going to sleep. I woke up and I felt much better. Oh yeah, I did take some Tylenol because I thought I might be getting fever, but I didn't take my temperature because I just saw on there that the Tdap shot, it's common that you can have a fever, fatigue, stuff like that. So I woke up Wednesday and I felt fine. So I went to work and came home. I did about 10 minutes worth of cleaning and started dinner, and all of a sudden it just hit me. I was like, oh my gosh. I was able to finish dinner, but I just felt bad really fast. And so I went up and took my temperature, and it was in the 99s, which is a fever for me because my normal body temperature is about 97, 97.6, 97.8, somewhere around there. So when it gets up to 99, it's a fever, and I feel feverish too. Basically, when I get a fever, I get body aches, I get exhausted, and I'm freezing. Like, it can be 78 degrees and I'll be shaking because I'm so cold. So that's how I knew. That's how I know when I have a fever, and that's why I took my temperature and confirmed it was a fever. So Wednesday night I took another Tylenol and went to bed. And then, so Thursday I woke up and I felt better again. But this time I went to bed, or I didn't go to bed. When I was at work, I would say around 11 o'clock, I started feeling bad. Started feeling the fatigue, the soreness, the chills, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got another fever. So, I wasn't ready to leave work at that time because I just had a lot on my plate that day, and I wanted to get some certain things done at work. So I ended up going to CVS and just grabbing some Tylenol. That helped, but I ended up leaving. I told my boss around 2, I was like, I don't feel good. I just need to go home. And she's great about, okay, do what you have to do, take care of yourself. So I went home Thursday around 2, and by the time I got home, the temperature wasn't back up by the time I got home, but it was getting there. And before I went to bed Thursday night, it was up to about 99.9, and I was feeling even worse. So I talked to my husband about it, and I was like, oh, and I forgot to mention too, that around Wednesday, the lymph nodes underneath my arms started to swell. At first, it was actually just the left arm, which is where I had the Tdap shot, and so all this time I was thinking that I was having, just symptoms from that. And so I told my husband Thursday night, I feel like this is getting worse. I think if it keeps getting worse, I'm gonna call the doctor tomorrow because I might just be having a really bad reaction to the Tdap. So I took another Tylenol, went to bed early again on Thursday, and woke up it's probably around 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was shaking, and I felt the worst that I'd felt. And I took my temperature, and it was all the way up to 100.5 at that point. So I was like, okay, yeah, we're going to just call the doctor tomorrow and get whatever, I need to get for this reaction. And so I took another Tylenol to keep the fever down, and I got up the next morning, and the fever was still down because I'd taken the Tylenol at 4. Got to work, and also at this point, both of my arms, the lymph nodes underneath my arms, were swollen. So I got to work, and as soon as the doctor's office opened, I called them and left them a message. Told them I thought I was having a reaction to the Tdap shot, and told them my symptoms and about the fever and all that. And so my doctor called me back and said, you need to go to the OBED, which is basically the emergency room for pregnant people. And because if you're having a reaction, it could be really bad. And if you're not, then they can still figure out what's wrong with you, because you've had fever for 3 days, and that's not good. So checked in to the ER, still thinking that it was not going to take very long. And they hooked me up to the monitors. They've got one to monitor the baby and one to monitor my uterus, I guess. And so they were asking me about contractions, and I told them, no, I have not been feeling contractions. You know, I've had a little bit of like the random tightening here and there that I've had for the past few weeks. But it's like a one-time thing and then it's done. So the nurse looks at the screen. She's like, you are having contractions. And she turned it to me and it was just like, and she's like, you really can't feel those. I was like, no. So they were like, okay, well, that's good that you can't feel them, but this is a lot of contractions and we need to get this to stop. And so basically, I had the nurse practitioner and 2 doctors look at me that night, and then they briefed another doctor on me for the next day because all of their tests were coming back negative, and they could not figure out what was wrong with me. And the doctor that saw me then said I needed to go to be admitted to the hospital because basically I was so hot that it was causing my body to become dehydrated, which was causing the contractions, which she said could have easily caused preterm labor. So basically they had to get the fever down and the contractions to stop. So that was kind of freaky. It's Friday. And by the way, that was probably like 4 o'clock Friday. I ended up going to the ER by like 9:30 that morning, so it was a very long day in the ER. And before they finally decided to admit me, and I was able to get a little bit of rest that night. They pumped me up with fluids and kept Tylenol in me so that my fever stayed down. And the contractions basically stopped. I was having a little bit here and there, but it was nothing like when I had come in. So they were very pleased with that. So the doctor that came in to see me Saturday just basically determined that I had an infection in my lymph nodes. And so if you... I'm sure I've talked about this before, but I have a huge needle phobia. And they had to first numb me with the lidocaine, which if you've never had that, feels like a bunch of bees stinging you, which is not fun, and especially with the needle phobia. And then they have to stick a large needle into my lymph nodes. I think she tried 2 different ones to see if there was anything, like any pus or anything like that, because she said if there was, she was going to have to cut them open and drain them. So that was probably the most nerve-wracking part of it all, but there was no pus, so there was no cutting, no draining, and she sent me home with antibiotics. And basically, at this point, I follow up with my doctor this upcoming Tuesday, and I'm assuming all test results have come back negative still, because I haven't gotten any calls. And you know, obviously if something was wrong and needed fixing, they would have called me immediately. But I'll just confirm that with her on Tuesday. In the meantime, I'm still on the antibiotics. The thing that concerns me is that it's Thursday right now, and then I've got antibiotics for Friday and antibiotics for Saturday morning. And after that, the antibiotics that they wrote me are done. I'm done. It was a 7-day treatment. I'll be done Saturday morning. My lymph nodes are still swollen. They have gone down a lot, and they don't hurt near as much as they used to, but they're still swollen, and that makes me nervous. So I'm kind of in a just waiting game with this stuff right now. I will definitely keep you guys updated. I'm sorry this video was so long, but I just wanted to give you, you know, what I knew. So that is it. I'm going to go ahead and show you my belly real quick, and that'll be it for my 31-week bump date. And it is definitely out there, you guys. Loving it. Belly button is starting to poke out some more, guys. But there he is. Okay, so that's it for the 31-week bump date. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and share it with somebody, and leave a comment down below. I love talking to you guys, and subscribe if you're not subscribed, because I do this every week unless I'm in the hospital like last week. Bye guys.